Let me welcome all of you, first of all, to this event, Celebrate the Power of the Sun, in honor of Sun Day, which isn't for a few more days, but we're getting started tonight. Um, and I want to thank all of you for making the time to be here, and also especially thank those of you who might be part of our community partners out there in general. Several of our steering committee members are here, but also I just want to mention Jolin is here tonight. He is my son living in France, but he was one of the founders of 350 Marin with me back in 2013 when we got things started. So he's going to do a little work with us, a little support for me tonight. I'm a little under the weather, but I think I'll be fine. But let me mention briefly that 350 Marin is a local 501c3, of course, here in Marin. And we were inspired years ago by Bill McKibben coming to the San Francisco on his Do the Math tour. And coming out of that, we formed our local group here. We also have a 501c4 that's doing some work more in the electoral area as we branch out. But we're also part of 350 Bay Area, which includes 7 other local groups across the whole Bay Area. So if you want to know anything further about us, I encourage you to go to our website, take a look at some of our campaigns, or you can email us at info@350marin.org. We especially are happy and proud about our internship programs, which are just getting underway with our high school students. We do that for 9 months all through the high school, the school calendar year. And then in the summer, we have our college students who get a stipend, and we orient them to what's happening with climate in Marin on the ground level. So we had a great summer. As you know, we are recording, and if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat if you'd like, and we'll get to as many of them as we can as we go along. So let me just start by asking, how many people have solar? Okay, just the 2, 3 homes have solar. Okay. And how many want solar? All right, there we go. Everybody else wants solar if they can get it. All right. Well, for me, having solar has definitely been a magical experience, especially when you're connected with battery to an app and you can watch it charge up all day and then be dispensed as you put different appliances on. It's all kind of a lot of fun. But I wanted to mention just a few quick facts about solar. So first of all, 90% of new power being installed around the world, worldwide, is solar power. So millions of people are getting electricity for the first time through solar. Clean energy now employs more people than fossil fuels globally. Over 36 million jobs are connected to the clean energy economy. Solar and wind are now more affordable than they have been before, and 95% of the new wind and solar projects deliver power cheaper than gas and coal can. And then, of course, coal and gas plants are actually being turned off because of renewables. In Europe, coal consumption has dropped by 61% thanks to wind and solar. And whole economies are now relying on solar. California was powered 100% by clean energy for more than 100 days so far in this year. If that statistic is still valid, and it could be more than that, probably. And solar was the biggest source of energy in the EU all of last month. So that is good news. And as we will hear, so I reached out to Bill McKibben, who's been part of our events in the past. We haven't had him locally for a while, but he did record some opening remarks for us. So we will switch to those at the moment, if Patrick can line that up.
Let me see. Okay.
Hello, friends. It's Bill McKibben. What a pleasure to be in league, as always, with the good folks at 350 Marin. and everybody else taking part in this virtual event. It's truly exciting, everything that's happening this weekend all over the country, all over one corner to the other, as Sunday has its debut debut celebration. There are hundreds and hundreds of events, and that's because I think of a couple of reasons. One, people have been a little freaked out by what's going on in Washington. It's very clear that the administration has decided that one of its key policy aims is to take clear aim at energy from the sun and the wind, shutting things down, removing all help, on and on and on. I don't think you need to be a great genius to figure out why. Running as candidate for president, Donald Trump told Big Oil that for $1 billion they could have anything they want, and they gave them closer to $500 million if you add everything in. That was clearly enough. They're very, very worried about the fact that solar energy has incredible momentum around the world. This is the fastest energy transition in human history, and it's not even close. Everywhere, China especially, but everywhere, clean energy is suddenly, in the last 36 months, on a kind of unprecedented roll. And this is because, as these other excellent speakers will tell you, it makes perfect economic as well as environmental sense. But I think it's somewhat deeper than that too. I think everyone kind of realizes at some level how beautiful it would be to get our energy from heaven instead of hell, because sunlight is available everywhere on this planet. There are a few concentrated deposits of fossil fuel. The people who end up controlling and owning them get too much money and too much power, and they then abuse it. The Koch brothers, our biggest oil and gas parents, Vladimir Putin, the king of Saudi Arabia, Exxon, whoever it is. So a world where energy that's available to everyone and that can't be hoarded or held in reserve, that's an interesting world. Think how the geopolitics of the last 70 years would have differed if oil had been of trivial value all that time. Think of the wars, assassinations, coups, terrorist plots that we could have done without, because humans are good at thinking up reasons to fight wars, but it's going to take something to figure out how to fight one over sunshine. I don't mean to say that you getting solar panel on your roof is the key to world peace, but it will not hurt. And it will help us move in the direction that we desperately need to move, because the climate crisis, as you know, all too well from firsthand up close experience, is upon us. We can't stop it, but we may still be able to stop it short of the place where it cuts civilization off at the knees. The rapid scaling of clean energy is the first real tool we've had in this 40-year fight. The first chance that we've had to really make scalable, powerful, hopeful progress. So at a moment when, in my opinion, pretty much everything else on our planet is going badly, this is the one big good thing that's happening. And it's big enough and good enough to take a bite out of both the climate crisis and the authoritarianism crisis, and you can be a big part of it. Thank you for showing up for Sunday and all that comes after. Take care.
All right. Well, encouraging words from Bill. Probably folks know about Bill McKibben, but I didn't formally introduce him. You may know he has written over 20 books, including the first, The End of Nature, in 1984, I think it was. And his newest book is Here Comes the Sun. So he is doing his book tours and spreading the word. And he was a founder, obviously, of the original 350 International Organization, along with a number of students from Middlebury. and he has moved to the primary organizer, founder of Third Act, which is for those of us over 60 who want to focus on progressive action, climate change, democracy issues, etc. So his latest book, Here Comes the Sun, is very good. I've gotten started on it. And as he says, you know, we're, in his opinion, we're really on the edge of this rare and enormous transformation in human history, akin to the Industrial Revolution, etc. So it's not going to be taking off like wildfire in the United States for a bit because we've got a lot of forces against that. But globally, particularly China, might just be about to save us, as a recent article spoke about. So anyway, anyone have any quick comments or any thoughts you have about Bill or just any of his, anything that he mentioned there? And if not, I can move to our introduction of Cailey, which I'm super excited to have you here tonight. Solar Rights Alliance is an amazing organization, and she will tell us more about it. But let me tell you a little about her bio, which is great. So Cailey taught high school for 6 years, high school English for 6 years after obtaining a Master of Science degree in English education. The pandemic was a catalyst for her and helped her decide to engage more directly in protecting the environmental future of her students, the future they deserve. In pursuit of that goal, Cailey was admitted into the Green Corps Fellowship Program, where she spent a year traveling across the country learning about how to become a field organizer. And her first campaign was with Solar Rights Alliance, working to stop the solar tax. And Cailey helped to organize rallies, petition drives, phone-in campaigns that involved over 1,000 people and got coverage in the LA Times, NPR, and more. So she is also an avid horseback rider, rock climber, writer, and reader, and enjoys a good adventure. So Cailey, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, Jody. What a spectacular introduction. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay? Just want to check on volume. We're good. Okay, excellent. I'm going to pop up some slides here and then get rolling. Can everybody see the slides? Maybe I'm seeing thumbs up, but I can't see my
Not
slides.
quite. There. Oh,
Not quite.
I didn't
Okay.
see them. No, I
Hold
saw the
on, hold
screen
on.
sharing, but
It was not working. Okay, give me 1 second. We even practiced this and had it ready to go. That's okay. I'll just pull them up again. Thank you for your patience, everyone. All right. Let's try this again. Take 2. This in its own. I don't know where the other one went, but this one will work just fine. All right, let's try this. Can you see it now?
Yes.
And better now, I would assume. Larger now. Okay, great. Excellent. Fantastic. Here we go. So thank you all so much for having me. My name is Cailey Underhill. I am the Advocacy and Development Director with the Solar Rights Alliance. For anyone who is unfamiliar with the Solar Rights Alliance, we are the grassroots nonprofit network of 150,000 solar users and solar supporters across the state of California. And we have all come together because we recognize that more rooftop solar and batteries will benefit everyone. And Jody mentioned that I used to be a high school English teacher. I thought I was going to be a high school English teacher for forever. I think teenagers are awesome. They're just the best of what we can be. And then, like you said, when the pandemic hit, I just realized we are out of time. We're out of time to address these various issues, everything from affordability to everything that Bill was talking about. And I did work on a lot of different issues related to this stuff, and it felt to me like the silver bullet, the closest thing we have to a silver bullet is rooftop solar. And the reason for that is that it does all of this stuff. It makes the grid less expensive. It cuts down on dangerous blackouts. It allows people to have more control, more democracy over our energy. It means that we have a shot, as he said, a chance of hitting our clean energy goals. maybe on schedule, but maybe at all. That's what's going to give us that shot. And of course, it means that pristine open space is protected when we use roofs that have already been built first. And, one of the things that he said is that there's an obvious economic benefit to rooftop solar. And for really the first time, we have a price tag for it. We know what the economic benefit is. And what's interesting is that it is not just a benefit to those of us who have it. So when Jody said, raise your hand if you have it, obviously you do, and that's a benefit to you. But it turns out that rooftop solar saves everybody. In 2024 alone, it reduced the cost of the whole grid for everybody, including people who don't have rooftop solar, by $1.5 billion. And the reason for that is really what this picture is showing right here. That you have this home in the center that has the rooftop solar panels, and the sunlight shines down, hits those panels, and the panels power that home in real time. But usually there's some energy left over. There are electrons that are hungry to serve the nearest load, and they don't go far. They go right to your neighbor. They serve your neighbor's refrigerator, your neighbor's microwave. They go right where they are needed next. And the result of that is that the utility does not have to deliver as much electricity to any of those homes. It is exactly like if I were to reach up here and turn off the light. Boom. Now the utility is delivering less electricity to me. I am saving electricity. And if I have a neighbor with rooftop solar, it's helping to power that lamp right now. That's how it works. And that means that this entire row of homes here in this picture is more energy efficient because that one person has rooftop solar. So that benefits everyone. And you can see this then at scale and over time. If you take the bird's eye view and move out from that picture of just 3 homes to the 2 million rooftop solar users in California. That red line in this graph here, this one, is what the California Energy Commission thought we were going to need in terms of electricity as 20 years went by. And they were right. We did need that much electricity. And yet our peak demand over that same period was absolutely flat. Why? Because rooftop solar has met that need. So the California Energy Commission said, we're going to need 15,000 more megawatts worth of energy. Panic now. And rooftop solar actually met that need, keeping peak electricity demand flat over the course of the past 20 years. And to be clear, rooftop solar users are everybody. 61% of all rooftop solar users are middle and working class. 52% are people of color. This is everybody everywhere being part of, as Bill said, this energy revolution. I don't want to toss a wet blanket on some of the things that Bill said, but I think this graph is really important because if we don't understand this picture, we're going to miss the boat. We actually were headed in the right direction. If you look at this lower gray line right here, that's where California was headed. This star is where we needed to be if we wanted to be on track to hit our state's clean energy goals. So we weren't gonna hit it, but we were gonna get awfully close. And then the California Public Utility Commission cut rooftop solar off at the knees, and it has gone off a cliff. And they did that at the behest of the monopoly utilities, who in California do not like rooftop solar because it cuts against their profit model. So they have attacked it over and over and over again. And they've done that in a variety of ways. The most insidious, probably like longest way that they have tried to undermine rooftop solar is by scapegoating rooftop solar users for the high cost of electricity in California. The reason that rates are so high in California is because of out of control utility spending on poles and wires. When they build new poles and new wires, they get guaranteed profits, 8 to 10% on all those poles, all those wires. When you put rooftop solar on your house, we don't need as many poles and wires. They don't make as much money. And remember how I said that peak electricity demand has been flat over the course of the last 20 years? Well, over the same period, their spending has gone up 300%. and their profits have matched. So they are trying to blame rooftop solar users to distract attention away from the real reason that rates are rising. And they're using that lie to try to end net metering. Net metering is the process by which rooftop solar has penciled out for many folks in California. It's the credit that rooftop solar users get when they share that extra energy with their neighbors, which again is neither a loss nor a gain for the utilities. It's just electrons in and electrons out, but it helps us as consumers get access to rooftop solar. They've tried to end it more than once. They were largely successful in ending net metering going forward for anyone who's gotten solar from April 2023 onwards, though that is pending in the courts right now. And they tried hard to retroactively break the existing 2 million rooftop solar contracts in the state of California. And it was the Solar Rights Alliance and our various partners like 350 Marin who managed to stop that from happening. So everyone who was part of that, thank you and congratulations. That was a big fight, a big win, and a big deal. They are also clearly moving to try to block self-consumption, which refers to the stuff that happens behind the meter. So never mind the credits that get sent to your neighbor and the credits you get on your bill. We're talking about just the basic right to have a bucket on your roof that provides electricity for your own home, your own property, your own roof, your own fence line. They are going after that. They have largely taken away that right for renters, schools, and farms, and they are clearly trying to pursue that with single family homes, in part by taxing it to death. So they have tried to establish a solar tax 4 separate times. We have stopped them every single time. Most recently, they are about to launch the new utility tax, which folks are remembering as it's beginning to be announced by the various utilities. PG&E is going to be the latest one to pick it up, probably early next year. But SoCal Edison is starting next month, and SDG&E the month after that. They're calling it a base service charge, and it will be a fee that everybody has to pay just for being connected to the grid of $24 a month. Now, they wanted it much higher than that, and we were able to wrestle it down to $24 a month, but that's still twice the national average and absolutely unacceptable. And of course, they continue to add in as many layers of red tape as they possibly can when it comes to permitting and interconnection so that they can slow and stall and create obstacles to the growth of rooftop solar to protect their profits over what we, the people, need and what would create a grid that is less expensive, better, and more flexible for everyone. And when they have been successful in these attacks, like when they cut off net metering, they inflicted damage, and the people they hurt most were working and middle class. So this image shows you who was going solar. And the part I want to draw your attention to is the orange and the gray. The orange are households making $50,000 to $100,000 a year. The gray is $100,000 to $150,000 a year, and the blue is less than $50,000 a year. Households making less than $50,000 a year. Look at what was happening. These families were getting access to this clean energy resource, and then boom, the CPUC cut it off at the knees, sent rooftop solar off a cliff, and it has not recovered. These cuts have sent rooftop solar and storage back 10 years from where we could have been. This is where we are. This is where we were. It has created massive job loss. 17,000 solar jobs were lost. It's more than in all of the pandemic. But, and this is Bill's point, together, solar users have blocked the worst of the attacks. As I mentioned, they've stopped a solar tax 4 separate times. They wrestled the solar tax down from $75 a month or more to $24 a month and are still fighting, trying to get that repealed pushback. And as I mentioned, we all collectively stopped AB 942, which would have broken the 2 million rooftop solar contracts that already exist. And on top of all of that, they have helped to implement a law that requires all cities and counties in California, unless they're tiny, to have instantaneous, automatic, and online permitting for rooftop solar and storage. Of all of the cities and counties that have complied, half of them did so because Solar Rights Alliance members reached out to their elected officials in true grassroots fashion. These fights are hard won. They are creative, as Bill was saying. They are engaging. They work to help get people out there telling their story. We believe that people are their own best advocate, and that the best thing that Dave and I can do as the people who are the only paid employees of the Solar Rights Alliance is to give folks the tools to make their own voice heard. And the potential for rooftop solar is absolutely staggering. California has the capacity to have 100 gigawatts of rooftop solar on existing rooftops and parking lots. That blue bar is how much we have. The orange and the gray is what we could do. And if we did, it would result in a less expensive grid for everyone. Now, I will say we're getting there. We've now gone from when that graph was made to today. We're now at 18 gigawatts of energy capacity across the state of California. And I don't know about you, but I find a gigawatt kind of hard to imagine as a concept. So just to be clear, those 2 million rooftop solar users altogether, the folks who raised their hands here and everyone else across the state who has invested in this energy resource, together, you are 4 Diablo nuclear power plants and 5 Hoover dams combined. That's
Wow.
the amount of energy, that you're producing. And yet, California has more than 10 million additional rooftops and parking lots that could be making solar energy right now that are empty and could be producing energy. That's equivalent to about 100 giant solar power plants out in the desert, which the utilities love because they get to run all those transmission lines out from the desert over to the coast and make all that money. So we think that solar users should be celebrated as heroes and that legislators should be helping more people go solar. So here's how you can help. If you're here today as an individual, our recent fights have taught us what we always knew. I mean, this is a water is wet kind of statement, but I think it bears saying. Lawmakers tend to vote for solar when lots of their constituents contact them about it, and the opposite is also true. If not enough people reach out, if we think it's just going to happen by osmosis, or we allow other things to take precedence, it doesn't work. We have to have lots of people speaking out about this issue for legislators to take notice and to vote with us when it counts. So we are launching an effort called The Sun Belongs to Everyone to make sure that rooftop solar is on your legislators' radar next session. They just ended their legislative session this weekend, and we're asking you to help spread the word by putting this link everywhere. Social media, text messages, emails, phone, like get this out to everybody that you can possibly think of who might even kind of sorta be interested in any of this in California. We do not send out alerts often. We send them out when they're important and when there are things that people can do that can really make a difference. And they do. One of the things legislators said most in this past session is that they had never heard from as many people as they did about AB 942. It works, it matters, it makes a difference. And if you are here as part of an organization or a leader of an organization, we have a monthly coalition call on which we bring a ton of different organizations together to talk about these issues and decide where we want to go next. So if you are part of an organization, please consider joining that call. It is the Save California Solar Coalition. You can email me and I'll pop my email in the chat momentarily to get that information. I know that was a lot, and I am always happy to chat with folks and share our information. Our website has a wealth of information. We are now on all the social media channels, so feel free to see us there as well. I'm going to stop sharing and pop that information in the chat and hand it back to Jody. But again, thank you so much for having me and for all that you folks have done to defend the right to make energy from the sun. We think we can do even more if we have even more people part of this fight.
Thank you, Cailey.
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you. You covered so much information in a really tight, quick amount of time.
I
So
tried.
yeah.
Thanks, Jody.
So before we move on, does anyone have any questions in particular? Oh, is there something in the chat? Oh, that was just your email, right? Okay, perfect. Yeah, to reach out to Cailey. There is a bigger push, and this may come up again with Larry's conversation around batteries. And are you tracking that kind of information too? The number of systems in California that have batteries associated with them? I
Yes,
would imagine.
we are. So this is one of the
Okay.
things where we have some really significant work to do. There are 2 million
Mhm.
rooftop solar users in California and 100,000 batteries. Why aren't
Ah,
we having a
oh,
million solar batteries campaign?
yeah,
Why isn't the state of
yeah.
California doing more to help reduce the cost of batteries or help people access these resources more creatively? There is a huge need for legislators to step in. And so, broadly, what we're asking legislators to do right now is remove solar barriers and get creative about what that might mean in the absence of some of the incentives that we did have from the federal government. Those are gone. So, what can we do to protect the right to make energy from the sun behind the meter and help remove barriers so that more people can go solar? I also do see a question in the chat. May I answer that or
Ah,
do you want me to wait?
sure, go right ahead. Yeah.
AB 942 was a bill that was authored by Assemblymember Lisa Calderon, who was an executive at SoCal Edison for 25 years before she became an assembly member. And in the first version of that bill, she wanted to break the lock-in period that's guaranteed in all of the 2 million contracts from 20 years down to 10. Imagine, if for folks who don't have solar, imagine that you buy a car and you have a warranty for 10 years and they tell you, just kidding, it's only 5. I mean, it was that level. And this is a legally binding contract that this bill sought to break. And so it did a number of other things as well. And together with many of the folks and organizations here, there was a massive effort to stop that bill from passing. And it was successful. I liken it to wax at a pinata, whereas it made its way through the legislative session. There was like chunks of the bill that fell out along the way. And then our understanding is that just this past weekend, the bill actually did not wind up passing at all. So it was gutted and amended prior to that point, but it also has not passed into law at this juncture, even with what was left. So thank you for asking.
All right. Patrick, you have a question?
One more question.
Yeah, I'm asking Kayla to say a couple of words about community solar for apartment dwellers and people with homes that don't have good sun exposure.
Yeah, so I live in an apartment and I do not have rooftop solar right now. And part of the reason I don't is that the California Public Utility Commission gutted the program that helped to make that possible, which was called VNEM. So when I say that they took away solar rights for renters, schools, and farms, what I mean is that the CPUC made the incredible decision that if you have an entity that has more than 1 meter, so you're talking an apartment, right, which would have like either virtual meters or actual meters for all of the units, or a farm where maybe it crosses the road, or a school where you have, like my high school, we had a high school and a middle school. And the obvious place to put the panels would be the gym. And you'd run a line from the gym to the middle school. And the CPUC said, well, all right, because the electrons from those solar panels touch the grid for an instant before they move from the high school to the middle school, it belongs to the utilities and you have to buy back the energy you just made on your roof from the monopoly utilities. So that makes it very difficult for rooftop solar to pencil out for landlords, renters, for farmers, and for schools. These are the sorts of barriers that we could help to remove. There also is a ton of burgeoning technology across the world that would help renters access smaller forms of solar energy that is very interesting. It is not ready for prime time, but it's interesting. And we are paying attention to that. And we think the only way to have a path towards people accessing that is to make sure that the utilities do not do away with the right to self-generate, to have that bucket that gets energy from the sun that you plug in, or that you have an inverter that plugs in, that allows you to use that energy on your property behind the meter. That's what they really want, is to claw behind the meter and get back as many of those, what they think of as lost profits, as they possibly can. Community solar is also great, but as you have probably heard, there's been more than one policy attempt to make it feasible in California, and every single time the utilities have rammed that into an obstacle and stopped that from really becoming a policy that can actually work in the state of California. And community solar, for anyone who's not familiar, is the idea that you take an unused space like a brown lot and you put some solar on it, and then you run wires out to the neighboring homes, like homes that can't have, the roof doesn't work or what have you, or an apartment that just wants to access it. And they would essentially rent like a patch of solar panels as though it belonged to them. So these are all awesome things, and they all fall under the umbrella of what we are trying to protect, what we are trying to defend, and what we are trying to create a runway for. Because if we can't, then we're not going to be able to get anywhere close to the reality that Bill is talking about. We can, if we fight together and if we really defend this right, but it can't be something that's passive. It won't happen on its own. We have to push for it and work for it together and use the levers that we have access to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have been encouraged, of course, and this is what Bill was saying about what's happening outside of the United States, right? Especially like with balcony solar for renters and being able to put that up so that people can generate their own, even for backup batteries. And I think Bain's going to show us some ideas that he's been working with. But I did hear recently that Utah is changed their rules and they are starting to allow balcony solar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there more to say about that? Yes, please.
Yeah, so balcony solar has really taken off in Germany, where people can go to their big box stores. Like, imagine going to their version of Walmart, buying a panel, hanging it on your balcony, plugging it in. The plugging it in part is an established part of what they can do in Germany. They have the right plug to just plug it in and boom, now your refrigerator is running off of solar. We do not. So there is some work to be done here in the United States to make sure that safety features are taken into account, that we have the correct inverters. And right now, balcony solar, along with a few other types of energy, exists in a political and policy gray space where it isn't clear exactly what rules they would need to follow. So Utah sort of stepped into the breach and said, all right, we're passing a law that says, theoretically, if you had this type of panel and this type of plug and this type of setup, you're good to go. You don't need a permit. You don't need to interconnect. Like, you're fine. So it sort of paved the way for a thing that isn't really a thing yet in the United States, but it was certainly an interesting approach. It's something that I think is worth paying attention to, but it isn't here yet. And there's a lot of work to be done between the here and the potential there. But to your point, Jody, there are some really interesting things that other countries are doing. This is not the only piece of interesting technology. Enphase just revealed a bi-directional charger that they think could make this work better for people who have a giant battery sitting in their garage that they're currently unable to connect to their homes. So interesting things are happening, and if we can defend the right to be able to use them, then we might just be off to the races.
Yes, and clearly the advocacy work that Solar Rights Alliance is doing with yourself and with all the partners is very, very important. So thank you very much for all the work you're doing. I mean, you're the conduit, right, by which many of us can support the direction we all want to go when it comes to solar. So thank you very, very much, Cailey.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Was that it for our questions? Okay, good enough. So we will move on then, and let me introduce Larry Kantrowitz to you. Larry is the residential and commercial sales manager for Earthwise Energy Solutions, which is right here in San Anselmo. And by way of bio, Earthwise Energy has been around for about 15 years and has been installing residential and commercial solar for about 7. They strive for customer satisfaction, as their 5-star reviews outline attest to. He has been with Earthwise for 5 years, and before that, he was in the wine business for 20 years. And he attended, I love this fact, the very first Earth Day in 1970 in New York City in Central Park when he was 3, right? A while back.
Yeah.
And actually, you've been a champion ever since, I hear.
Yeah, my oldest sister, she was a hippie, and like there was something going on in Central Park, so she dragged me along. I don't really remember it, but Earth Day has actually resonated ever since, because obviously my sister, we continue to talk about it and stuff like that. And I think she's got a picture of me somewhere. I'd like to see it someday. So it's going to be hard to follow up on Cailey because she's just fabulous. So I feel like I just like the main act on, and it's my turn. So what I wanted to talk about, I want to talk about what's going on currently in the solar industry, right? So with pricing, the tax credits going away, the future, right? The future as it is right now, assuming that nothing better happens, right? We all want to see net metering 3 go away, but my experience is, PG&E unfortunately always gets what they ask for, which is, that's Cailey's department, right? So what we've seen, because I've worked at Earthwise for the past 5 years, I've seen solar like pricing changing. And so what with the federal tax credit going away, I've had a lot of customers that I talked to a number of years ago, and for whatever reason, they decided that they didn't want to go, solar wasn't right for them at that time. And very interestingly, I pull up their old proposal and the new proposal. And my new proposal is 20 to 25% less on the solar portion. Batteries have come down about 15%. So prices are on the decline. It's going to make it more affordable. We don't know where it's going to land. Battery pricing is still, unfortunately, subjected to tariffs. And so 85, I was just doing some homework, 85% of all batteries, residential batteries sold in the United States have components that are manufactured in China, and we've got this trade war going on, and so battery pricing is a bit of an issue. With net metering 3, it's not the end of the world, right? So I've been in this for a while. When net metering 2 went away, I thought the end of the world was going to happen. Our sales fell off. I got depressed. I went to the beach. So, but what has happened since is, PG&E and the utilities in the state of California are actually driving solar at this point because their rate increases are getting to where they're unsustainable. So it's actually, I hate to say it, but PG&E is kind of like our marketing department because they keep raising their prices and they keep driving people to go solar. What I like about net metering 3, and we were talking about it just briefly, is the deployment of batteries. So by deploying batteries, I love the term self-consumption. It's a term that I use often whenever I'm presenting to a client. And unfortunately, with net metering 3, it's impossible to get to 100% self-consumption. But if you can get to 85, 95%, you're cutting them out, right? And it takes a little longer because of the cost of the batteries to pay off your system, but you have like it's like a utopia, because that's where I want to see the whole world, is where every house is 100% self-consumption. They've got solar on the roof, they got batteries to back them up, and they don't need the friggin' utility anymore. And I think in some point in the future, we will see this, but not anytime soon. And in California, in the United States, obviously we're up against headwinds. So I'm going to talk completely. I don't normally talk to groups of people. I usually do one-on-one. But I want to talk about the federal tax credit going away. So this has been devastating, right? So on July 4th, the big beautiful bill passed, and then July 5th, our phone just started ringing. We have sold, I pulled the numbers up, we have sold about 2 years worth of business since July 4th, which is great for us. But we are on a time crunch. We were hiring people. We've got to get everybody installed in time. But that's not the reason solar should be popular, is because the federal tax credit is going away. A lot of people have, they're putting it off till next year or whatever. And then all of a sudden the federal tax credit's going away. And just so you know, if anybody doesn't know, the federal tax credit is a 30% tax credit that is available for the entire cost of the project for the batteries and the solar portion, which can, when you're looking at, a large system, that can be, $15,000, $20,000 coming back to you in the form of a tax credit. And that is a driver for the industry, and it has been a driver for the industry for over 10 years. There's been some form of solar tax credit for a number of years. Now, these past, the Inflation Reduction Act extended it out to 2030, and then Donald Trump and his administration cut it off at the knees. And we're a little concerned, right? And so, we're anticipating a drop off, just like when net metering 2 went away. However, with the prices of solar, the panels and the installation coming down, we're talking to manufacturers, and what manufacturers are starting to say is they're going to start lowering their prices. So battery prices are going to come down, 10, 15% over the next year or so. We're not going to get to that 30%, but I think from today's prices, by this time, I hope by this time next year, we're looking at a 20% decrease in price. So it's still a lot of money. It's way too much money. Battery prices are just ridiculously expensive. When you're looking at like a Tesla Powerwall is $15,000. A Franklin battery system is $18,000. It's a lot of money for a homeowner, and they have to also add solar to that. So it's like, it's a very cost prohibitive thing. And I love that graph that Cailey had earlier, is all of those people, my customers, that were all middle income people, they've all disappeared. And now all of a sudden, solar is for the wealthy, and it's a luxury again, because they're the only people that can afford it. Now, there are different programs that are out. There's PPAs. We don't really do with PPAs at Earthwise, but power purchase agreements, that makes it a little bit more affordable. We're kind of looking at that as maybe an option to offer some of our clients next year. But at the end of the day, most people are financing or taking out HELOC loans or paying cash for their systems. And it's been very cost prohibitive. Now, I have a graph here. I don't know if I can share it. Can I share it?
Give it a shot.
I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to share this desktop. I'll try sharing. Now I'm going to share this one, and I drag it over here. Can y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
You can? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Good. So I was preparing for this. I wanted a little bit of this is where we're at right now, right? So energy prices are going up. Here, let me pull this out. So electricity prices, 13 to 18% increases. Consumer price index is going up. Everything's going up. Gasoline's going down, and oil's going down, because that's literally how the administration wants the economy to act. Now, if electricity keeps going up 13 to 18% throughout the United States, if Idaho's electricity goes up 18%, what do you think PG&E is going to do? They're going to say, hold my beer. We're going to go 25, right? Right. We all know, we know that's what they're going to do. So the rate of inflation from PG&E and their is going to increase. So over the past decade, we've seen 104% rate increase. And over the past 3 years, 50% of that it was just occurred in the past 3 years. So there's no better time to go solar, even if there is no federal tax credit, because these rates are just going to keep going up, and they're gonna hurt everybody. Now, this is I pulled this from an independent like a business company, and so this is the solar installs, right? So after that Inflation Reduction Act, boom, the solar just skyrocketed, and it's tailing off here. And now the federal tax credit is going away, and it's going to drop down. But you see it starts creeping back up. Now, these forecasts, this is residential, is the blue. So we're going to have a couple of tough years. But if you see by 2030, we've recovered back to 2023 levels, if we can stay on this path. But it requires, how do I stop sharing? Yeah. Oh, how do I stop sharing?
You push stop sharing.
Yeah, but I lost my controls.
Put your cursor over the screen
Yeah,
again.
yeah, I got it. Yeah. So what we can anticipate in the next coming years, we can anticipate higher electricity bills, less help from the government to buy solar. State legislatures, they might jump in. I would love to see some kind of battery discounts and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we can't really rely on anybody other than ourselves. So we have to figure out ways to get solar less expensive. You know, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see battery manufacturers really get revolutionary and bring down pricing. Right now, the average battery size is 15 kilowatt hours. Most people don't need that. We need some like 6s and 7s out there, and the battery manufacturers aren't really that interested in producing a small battery because it's less profitable. However, I think with the federal tax credit going away, I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more revolution in the battery field. I know of one company in Silicon Valley that was started by these two guys that designed the first Powerwall, and they started their own company. They're using AI. They have a battery system that literally learns your house. It stores your energy. It discharges when it knows you need it. It will learn when you make coffee in the morning. This is the future. This is the future where you have a smart panel and you have a smart battery and you've got solar on your roof, and then you can get to that self-consumption like 100%, which is what our goal is, I think, for everybody at some point. I'll finish up here in just a couple of seconds. So the federal tax credit is expiring on December 31st, 2025. There's still time if people want to go solar, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much towards the end of basically I'm selling my last systems right now because historically, as long as the expenditure is made in that calendar year, it's eligible for the federal tax credit. However, there's verbiage out there that the systems have to be installed and they have to be operational. Nobody in the solar industry can figure out how they will ever verify any of that, but we're not going to take any chances. So we want to get everybody's systems installed by the end of the year. And I think most solar installers in the Bay Area right now are not taking any new customers. But I did leave, we have a couple slots open for Bay Area, 350 people. I'll put our website into the chat. We've been partnered with 350 Bay Area for a long time. And what we do with 350 Bay Area is we offer a discount to people who come to us through 350 Bay Area. And that's in the form of system sizes that are from 0 to 5 kilowatts or $500 discount. 5 to 10 kilowatts in solar is $1,000 discount, and anything over 10 kilowatt hours is a $1,500 discount. And in turn, at the end of the year, we tally all of that up, and then we make a donation to 350 Bay Area in your name. So we've been doing that for a number of years, and it's been a good partnership. I don't know what else I got. Any questions?
Well, I wanted to ask you, don't forget that in our utopian future of home energy, we can get a lot of juice from bi-directional electric cars.
So yes, and so I get asked about this on a regular basis, and and Cailey mentioned that Enphase is coming up with bi-directional. There's the big elephant in that room is the automobile industry. The automobile industry does not want you tapping their battery because it causes a lot of issues for them, like warranty, liability. Last thing that Ford wants to do is burn down your house for whatever, if there's something should go wrong. I think that is part of the future, right? But there has to be uniformity in the automobile industry, because if you fit your house for Ford, and Ford has proprietary hardware, and then you sell your Ford and you buy an Audi, then you got to retrofit there's got to be some uniformity. But I really believe, like Cailey said, is you got 70 kilowatt hours sitting in your driveway. Why aren't you using it? You paid for that electricity. You should be able to have access to it whenever you want. And I would love to see that. That would be the utopian future where your car is, it's just all self-contained. We love that.
Yep, the AI connecting everything, learning your habits, all that good stuff.
It'd be absolutely fabulous. And in theory, it is available right now. It's just cost prohibitive.
I guess I wanted to ask one more question. I guess less for myself and more for other listeners who might be watching this recording or who might see this later. can you talk, do you have any numbers or off the top of your head about systems that are solar only versus solar and battery, and why just generally someone might decide to add batteries to their system? Because I think it's something that we talk about a lot, solar, and we say batteries are essential, but we don't ever really, sometimes we have to make it explicit again
Yeah.
for anyone who might not be perfectly familiar with that.
Good question.
Yeah.
I'm assuming everybody here knows exactly
Right.
what net metering 3 is. Let me explain net metering 3 to you. Let's start with net metering 2. So net metering 2 is the previous rate plan from PG&E and the utilities in the state of California. What that allowed you to do was put solar on your roof. And all of your excess kilowatt hours that you weren't using at that moment, you were sending out to the grid, and the utility was paying you retail rates for. All the kilowatt hours you were pulling from the grid, they were charging you time of use retail rates as well. So at the end of the year, if you produced 100 more kilowatt hours than you used, you basically weren't paying the utility for any electricity. They didn't like that. Like Cailey said, they wanted more profits. So then what they did is they implemented net metering 3. What net metering 3 did is, instead of paying you retail rates for all the kilowatt hours that you're not using and sending out to the grid, they're paying you pennies. Now all the kilowatt hours you're pulling from the grid, they're charging you time of use retail rates. So with net metering 3, the objective kind of is to deploy more batteries in the sense, but they went about it the wrong way. So instead of sending all of your excess kilowatt hours out to the grid, you're sending them to the battery. The battery discharges during peak rate periods and overnight, offsetting the amount of electricity you ultimately pull from the grid, and thus able to be more self-consumption. Now, PG&E wrote this algorithm, so you're still on the hook to buy electricity at a certain time every year, mostly during the winter months when your production is at its lowest. Currently, to answer your question, if you just put solar on your house, it's going to offset about 30 to 36% of your electricity usage. When you add a battery, you can get up to maybe 90, 95%, depending on how much electricity you use. But net metering 3, the bad thing about net metering 3 is they shoved it down our throats, and they're forcing people to pay $20,000 for a battery that is prohibitive. That's like buying a used car. So that's why I was talking about battery prices really need to come down to make this continue in the state of California and the United States, right? So not every state has net metering 3 as bad as California, but they after net metering 3 went into effect, a lot of states said, "Oh, California can do that." And we did it too. And like 10 or 15 states said they just literally adopted our terrible net metering laws, which is just, it was a power grab by all the utilities throughout the country, and it's not right. I see people's electric bills every single day, and some people use a lot of electricity, and maybe they might be using too much. But I was talking to this one gentleman. He has a house in Marin, and he's using like 2,000 kilowatt hours a month. And yeah, he's got a nice house, he's got a pool and all that stuff. But I'm looking at his electric bill, and 1 month is more than a year for me. And so it's like, some people use a lot of electricity, but it's also, I have to, the problem is the folks that aren't using a lot of electricity, because that guy can afford batteries. It's the folks that are like using 300-400 kilowatt hours a month that the system just takes too long to pay for. And unless they're young and they're going to be in that house for a long time, most people don't make that investment because they don't see any payoff at the end. It's like, if I'm going to put 5 kilowatts of solar and like a 15 kilowatt battery on somebody's house, and it's going to offset 90%, but they still have to justify it, because those are the middle income people that we were talking about earlier, who before net metering 3 came into effect, they could buy solar for $12,000-$15,000 and have energy independence, and they can't anymore. Did I get
for spelling that out? Yeah, that's great.
Yes. Sorry, once I get on a soapbox, it's hard for me to get off.
No, that's a very important consideration. I mean, batteries, there's a lot of conversation about batteries, and I had a question about that. But I wanted to ask first, if Cailey, if you had anything you wanted to throw into the conversation from your perspective on just some of the issues we've been talking about.
I think the only thing that we haven't touched on that people might want to know about is that there is a massive lawsuit against the NEM3 decision for the reasons that Larry outlined. It has been deeply harmful to tens of thousands of people who otherwise would have been able to go solar, and now it's not penciling out for as many folks. So there are 3 organizations that filed the lawsuit: the Environmental Working Group, the Protect Our Communities Foundation, and the Center for Biological Diversity. We are not lawyers over here at the Solar Rights Alliance, so we are cheering them on and giving that lawsuit legs in the grassroots where we can. But ultimately, it's the lawyers who are doing the thing. And so they filed this lawsuit against the NEM3 decision. A court of appeals said, actually, we don't think we can touch this with a 10-foot pole, because the precedent suggests that the California Public Utility Commission requires unique deference. So we just gotta not. And our allies who filed the lawsuit were like, absolutely not. That would mean that the CPUC is above the law. So we're actually going to appeal this to the state Supreme Court. Last month, so this is recent, the California Supreme Court said, we get where the Court of Appeals was coming from, but we do think that they are wrong. They can and they should be able to take a look at the merits of the case, and now they have to. So they decided that the California Public Utility Commission is not above the law and should be held to the same legal standard as every other agency in the state of California, and that now that Court of Appeals has to rehear the whole case with the new evidence and make a decision based on the merits of the case. And as Larry said, who knows? That could result in a very different situation. There's a range of decisions that could come from that. We don't know. So as he said, our kind of approach has also been, all right, the incentives are all gone. And on the one hand, that helps remove a big chunk. It helps lay bare the lie that the utilities have been telling about rooftop solar, this idea that they're costing other people because it's being subsidized by other folks. No, it isn't. That's not how it works. As we've been saying, it's electrons in and electrons out for the utility. They are giving the credit at the same value they're then selling it to your neighbor for. So it's not a win or loss for them. It's just that they don't have to build as many poles and wires, which they don't like. So it is worth watching what's going on with that court decision. We don't have a super clear timeline right now, but at some point this decision will be made. Something might happen that might change the current setup. But for now, our path is, how can we make sure that we defend this right to self-generation? How can we make sure that we defend existing solar contracts? And how can we make sure that we remove solar barriers wherever we can to make it easier for more people to go solar? So that's the only thing that I would add in case people were wondering what we were talking about there.
Yeah, that's great. I remember tracking a little bit about all of that, and it's very exciting. So let's hope it pans out in a positive way for folks. One of the questions I have though too is, if you have solar right now but not batteries, I did hear recently, just this week, that it's going to be pretty darn hard to get solar and battery installed and operational and signed off and everything by the end of the year. So yeah, you need to rush and see if that's even a possibility. But if you already have solar, is it more likely, better chances that you could add battery before the end of the year and get that piece installed?
So
Or is it
yes, so that's a conversation we're obviously having, right? We're having that literally. We had the same conversation yesterday. So batteries take a half a day. The batteries take a half a day to install. So in theory, we can do 2 a day. Also, we can install batteries in the rain when we can't install solar. Our conversation is, should we take our chances and sign more battery add-on? We call them add-on battery projects. And so we still haven't come up. We've signed so much, we kind of have to let the dust settle and see our actual install timeline, how it's going to pan out over the next, everybody's working on it. And then if we see that we have the ability to sign battery only projects, because we always have, right? But we don't want to make promises we can't keep, right? So we're right now, if anybody wanted to like add a battery, I could probably squeeze you in, but we don't have a firm timeline, but we feel like we can. We feel like we can, but we just have to like sort through what we've got right now before we can take any more, if that makes any sense. Now, just so
It does.
you know, folks, adding a battery to your existing net metering 1 or net metering 2 system will not change your net metering agreement, but it will give you more energy independence, and of course, it will help during grid outages. So there a lot of people are doing that for even if they don't get a lot of grid outages, they want that battery.
Yeah.
They want that energy independence. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They're so mad at PG&E
Yeah.
that they're going to pull anything from the grid if they don't have to. So we're seeing
Yeah.
a lot of that, a lot of adoption of batteries.
And then we have a quicker question. To add a battery to the solar system I already have, is there any paperwork we need to find out? Or?
Yes, yeah, no, you have to, it has to be permitted, it has to be, and PG&E has to be notified that you added the battery to the system.
How much time needed to go through this paperwork process?
You know, in normal times, you know, it's 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks from the beginning to, because we've got to do site inspections, you know, we got to look at your existing system, we got to go to design, it's got to go to permitting. Permitting is actually a lot better than it was 3-4 years ago in the state of California, because it's getting a lot better.
Finally.
I hate to give PG&E credit, but lately permission to operate, they've been turning it around in 2 weeks, which is when NEM2 went away, it was 6 months for people to get their permission to operate.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Julia knows.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. There's more questions that could be asked, but we better get moving.
Yeah.
And because we all definitely want to hear from Dr. Bing Gu, and he is the founder of California Sunlight Corporation with over 2 decades of experience in solar energy and energy efficiency. Dr. Gu has contributed to both major corporations and startups. He holds 12 US patents in solar technology and advanced lighting.
Yay.
And through his inventions, Dr. Gu continues to turn his vision of solar energy for everyone, anytime, anywhere, into reality. So, Bing, show us your slides and your wonderful solar solutions.
Thank you, Jody. Yeah, that's our belief. Solar energy is for everyone, anywhere, anytime. We have been working on the solar energy technology for about 15 years now. Today, I want to briefly introduce our solar energy product and their application, and mention our PG&E rebate program for the solar generator. We are competing with the gasoline generator. We start with the solar power barbecue with the solar energy to heat up our grill. It can reach like 400 to 500 degrees.
Wow.
Without any charcoal smoke. Of course, you can add some wood chip to get the smoke to get the flavor, no problem. But mainly is the solar energy. And we also develop a solar balloon cooker for Africa country to reduce the need to cut down the trees for cooking. Use solar energy for cooking. Locally, we also use for K-12 STEM education. Students can bake a cookie, cook a smoke at the same time, learn some renewable energy, physics, science, math. We develop solar lighting. For indoor lighting will be solar table lamp. Outdoor lighting with solar secure light with motion sensor. And we have a solar, all kind of solar phone charger. This is solar window charger we develop. Actually, this is used in our high-speed train in Japan. The visitor take it down. We also develop a foldable solar panel for easy installation, also for easy storage and easy to carry on anywhere. Combined with a battery and portable power station, we call it solar generator. We have a solar generator anywhere from 1 kilowatt to 20 kilowatt hour battery. So pretty much a small, medium size. We are developing portable solar EV charger. We already have a portable EV charger, solar EV charger on sale, and we are testing a solar panel mounted glued to the EV rooftop, so you can charge your EV anytime with the sunlight. Although the small space, but right now, solar panel efficiency is getting pretty high, so it's significant. In terms of all the portable solar device application, the number one will be for power outages. When the power outage, this is device you can provide lighting, Wi-Fi, computer, charging phone, run your refrigerator, or medical device like a CPAP machine or oxygen generator if you need it when the power outage. The second major application is the outdoor operation, like running the power tool, like the construction site. If you have difficulty finding power, even run the water pump. The third application like outdoor events, like the council, DJ, or county fair. If they have difficulty finding power, so portable solar will be the solution to it. And more people, we try to push, get more and more people to use solar energy in the farm market. It's clean, it's quiet, also very safe. It's very compatible to the farm market's environment. And more people are using it. We are very happy with that. The fourth application will be for charging. You can charging your e-bike, scooter, electric vehicle, and even a boat. If you have any electricity, you can charge it. Of course, you can use portable energy for outdoor recreation, like a tailgate party, camping. And more and more people get enough from the PG&E and other electrical company, and then switch to off-grid with this portable solar unit. Because as I said, right now the technology getting very advanced. Battery anywhere from 1 kilowatt-hour to like 20 kilowatt-hour. So for a medium family, if you don't use a lot of appliances, it is sufficient to use the unit, the system to power your homes. You can totally cut off the electricity from the major grid. School education is another big application because it's a very cost-effective and also safe and easy to use. And students can learn a lot from not only math, physics, engineering, also have a lot of fun and know a lot about like environmental and renewable energy of the future. So school education is another big part. A lot of our big application also is for emergency preparedness and disaster relief. We donate some solar table lamp to Puerto Rico when there's a power outage in the island. Also, we provide solar balloon cooker for the first responder to heating up the food or boiling the water. Because it is so lightweight, the balloon is we can easily ship like 200 pieces in a small box and then to the remote area. Right now, PG&E has a rebate. It's a result of a local customer complain about power outages. Especially they install some new equipment, so we shut down whenever is possible, is needed, whatever. So they have a rebate for generator and battery, generator, gasoline generator. What we are trying to push here is to take this opportunity to get a customer who need the backup generator use a solar generator instead of a gasoline generator. So the solar generator, the rebate code is GEN31, and most people can get $300 rebate. The CARE program and FERA program participant can get up to $500 rebate, or up to 1 kilowatt-hour battery capacity delivered by the end of the year. Likely next year, I think they want to stop the rebate program. Got to have a residential or business account. If you have both residential and business account, you can get 2 rebates. Most residents in Marin County are qualified for rebate from San Francisco to south to Petaluma to the north and Richmond to the east. Most of them, I estimate probably 90% of the Marin region are qualified for rebate. They have a list of what kind of capacity qualified, and our CS1000 1000 watt solar generator are on the list. So we try to put everybody who need a backup generator use this opportunity to get a solar generator for the backup power. Don't use the gasoline generator. If anybody need to know more information, we can check that website. And also, you can send me your address. I can check out the qualification for you and can get more information for you. And here's my contact information, my phone number, email, and our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Gu.
Yes, thank you so much. Those are just such creative ideas. I love them all, right? And if you want to put your email in the chat in case anybody wants to just cut and paste or link right to it, that you can do that. But yeah, that is very exciting. Bing was presenting. He had a big table at the Nevada Electrification Fair. And it was great fun to go up there and see each of the little products and touch them and see how they work and the solar panels across the cars. Very interesting. And yeah, the rebates are especially helpful right now. Julia, you have a question as we get closer to wrapping up?
Yeah, I wrote, how much do the solar generators cost? Like the backup?
Oh, those small one for the PG&E rebate one is $600. So if you can get $300 rebate, it will be $300 out of pocket. For senior and low income who get $500 rebate, it's only like $100 for the backup generator. So I think this is a good opportunity to take advantage to get a solar generator instead of a gasoline generator for backup power.
Yeah, we happened to win in a contest a small battery, which is great because should we need to evacuate, right? Fits right in the car and we could take it with us. So if we end up at the Civic Center in the parking lot for a day or two or three, we have that that will travel with us. So go ahead, Joel, and I think you had a question.
Yeah, I actually just have two quick comments and a question. Maybe three comments. First, I'm realizing that with Cailey, Larry, and then Bing, we're kind of going from the state level or sort of to the residential level to the potential individual use level. We're really touching on all the ways that we can integrate or solar into our lives or fight for solar. I did want to say when I was 15 years ago, when I was a kid, early high school, maybe middle school, I had a small panel like the ones you just showed, Bing, that charged this minuscule battery that I put in our window of my bedroom, just because I thought that was cool. As a kid, I thought, wow, I can charge at the time, my iPod with this little solar panel. And I just wanted just to boost the idea that it's really, in terms of educational tools, it's really interesting because it brings something that can be kind of abstract to in a very intuitive level. You see the panel and it's kind of magical, so you have to learn how it happens too, or that's part of the interesting aspect of it. But you really see it charging your phone, your whatever device in real time. And I just think that's really cool to be able to do that. So if there are parents out there who are interested in getting their kid a technology device is not a screen, and that's also kind of educational. It's an interesting idea. And I was also going to say the panels that you showed for like backcountry camping or camping with your car, those also I like those because I want to say just whenever I go backpacking, especially when you go multiple days, well, nowadays for better or for worse, I typically take my phone to take photos and for the satellite map. Well, and every time I put panels on my back. They're light, they're practical. You got to keep them safe, but panels like the ones you showed, they can be really practical, even life-saving in the sort of backcountry if you go backpack multiple days at a time. And then my question, sorry, this is a long comment, but my question is, I'm curious, Bing, have you yourself been into any schools to talk about these products or to teach, or have your products been used in any school teaching settings?
Yeah, yeah. We have been working with the school all the time from the very beginning. Part of the reason is we find out the younger generation is much easier to adopt a new technology. We develop like balloon solar cooker. Students have a lot of fun working together, and it's so low cost, like $20-$30, and then the teacher can reuse it again and again. They bake a cookie, bake a small, and student, even a kindergarten, very young kid, well, the teacher showed them how to bake a cookie, and then at the end share a cookie, and know the very beginning, know the solar energy, and all the way up to like high school or college student learn how to build a tracker to follow the sun, all of the thing, and we find out one of our small kid getting a lot of attention is a solar phone charger. It's we develop kits also for students. We break down the panel to small pieces and with a couple of connector. So student doesn't need to solder it, just very easily assemble them together with the hand. And then they go outside, they can charge their phone right away. Because more and more students actually have a phone. And you can charge your phone anywhere, anytime, use this solar panel. They get a lot of fun. And then teacher then guide them to write a report, and high school student can write more about like electricity, how to go through, how to like a parallel or serial connection, how to voltage or measurement and according. But the younger student just use the panel, just charge their phone. They already have a lot of fun.
Bing, I just had a quick question. So I am a science teacher in Novato. And so with high school.
I mean, Novato too.
Yeah, so a high schooler. So if I was interested in like connecting with you, just email you and then we could maybe set up an appointment for.
Sure. Sure.
Oh, that would be great fun, Julia. We could hear how it actually goes, but I can imagine it's super fun. I remember in kindergarten, it's one of my earliest memories, going into the classroom in the morning, knowing where the sun was, and then coming out it later in the day going, how did it move? I remember going, wait, it's not the same place. So yeah, learning where the path of the sun is and how we can use it and how we can relate to, the sun keeps us alive for sure on this planet. So pretty darn important. As you can see, I'm losing my light, but I just want to thank everybody who came and certainly our three speakers. As we sign off, I'm going to have Patrick just put the slide of all of our community partners who helped us today with this event. And just thank you so much for all the work you're doing, advocacy work, grassroots work with residents and residential and commercial. It's all fabulous. Thank you so much, everybody. And the recording we'll get it on our website at some point soon. So. And then Patrick will just show, you can see here. There we go. All the local organizations in Marin that knew about our event and helped us promote it and get the word out. So thanks again, everyone.
Great presentations.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks for coming, Barbara.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll sign off. Any last comment? Okay.
Spread the word for sure.
Yeah, spread the word. Solar forever. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Have a great night.
Happy Sunday on Sunday.
Yes.
Bye.